About half of the world has or will have a period at some point in their lives. And yet, periods are still considered this taboo topic. In the 21st century, we've reached this point where pad and tampon commercials are pretty common, but most of us women, most of us who have a period, don't know how to effectively take care of ourselves during that time of the month. Actually, scratch that, we're making periods normal. Most of us don't know how to take care of our bodies during our period. My goal in this video is to guide you through some simple and practical things to do, rituals if you will, to reconnect to your body while you're bleeding. This isn't just a video for those who identify as super hippie or spiritual. Maybe you're not into that realm at all. I personally love that. But this video is for everyone who bleeds, and specifically for the modern woman who wants to know how to effectively take care of herself during her period so that she can be set up for the rest of the month to be energetic and abundant. This is basically the basics of taking care of yourself while you're on your period, what we should have learned in school. But this isn't the kind of self-care where you just take a bath or grab a nice coffee or go shopping with a friend and check it off your box and call yourself healed. This is radical self-care that invites you to reconnect to yourself and to your body deeper than maybe you had before with some easy rituals. For decades, centuries even, we have been taught to ignore our periods. Don't talk about them, don't acknowledge it, continue on life as normal. Your body should operate, or this is what they're expecting of us, should operate the exact same every single day, regardless of what point in your cycle you're at. Read those pad and tampon commercials where they're like running track and field or sprinting or whatever it may be. This is generally bad advice. And it could just come from people, powers that be, that don't know any better. I'm not saying it's necessarily malicious intentions, but it's bad advice. It's becoming more common knowledge, but most women still don't know how their hormones operate. We generally know when our period is. We know around the time of the month that it might come. Although for me personally, I wasn't even tracking that until 3 or 4 years ago. So I spent about 7 years of having a period always just kind of like, oh, I wonder when it's gonna show up, even though my periods were regular. And that's about where the knowledge ends for most of us. We know when we have a period. What many people don't know is that women's hormones operate on a 28 to 32 day cycle, which is why we get our period roughly every 28 to 32 days, roughly once a month if you experience regular periods. Our energy and our mood, how we feel, changes daily because of this longer cycle period. So no, it's not just in your head that some days you're on top of the world, you're running every day, and then you hit a wall, you need to nap every day for a week or so, and then you slowly start getting back into it. It's not in your head, you're not lazy, that's just the way that our hormones were designed. Now, men's hormone cycles operate on a 24-hour cycle, which is kind of how our whole world's set up, right? Men generally wake up every single day feeling the exact same as they did the day before and the day before that and the year before that and the month. Like, they generally wake up every single day feeling about the same energy and mood-wise, given they're in good health and they're not like going through a crisis of some sort that would affect their psyche. Now, this is great information to know. Women are on a 28 to 32 day cycle, men are on a 24-day cycle. However, our society has come to expect women to operate as if they are on a 24-hour cycle in the same way that men are. We are expected to operate as if we are ovulating all month long. Ovulation is when your energy levels are at their highest. We're expected to operate as if we're ovulating all month long, and that's just not feasible. We only ovulate for about 5 days each month. All this to say that men and women's hormones are on two different schedules. Think of it like this. Men are like the sun, operate on a 24-hour schedule. Comes up every morning, sets every night. It might change seasonally, but again, has that same kind of rhythm every day that you can expect. where women are like the moon. A moon operates on a 28-day cycle, right? The new moon is when the moon is not shining, and the full moon is where the moon is in full all of its grandeur. It's beautiful, right? It's a full moon. And you can kind of think of the different cycles of a woman's hormone cycle as the same as the moon phases, right? There's the four main ones. There's the new moon, there's waxing, full moon, waning. Same kind of idea goes for women's hormone cycles. And every month, just like the moon, we start over again with our period. Now, I could go on and on about this forever, and I will perhaps do more of a deep dive into women's hormone cycles or a crash course in the future. But for the sake of this video, we are just going to focus on our periods and how that works. But it's important to look at the overall cycle of hormones to understand why it's so important to prioritize self-care while you're on your period. Energetically, we are at our lowest point when we are on our period. To go back to the moon analogy, it's like the new moon where everything's dark. It's this time to just rest. Periods should be about prioritizing rest since you are at your lowest energetically. And that's not just a psychological thing. It's not just laziness or whatever. One, it takes a lot out of you to be bleeding. And two, hormonally, you are not set up for a whole lot of energy. Again, it can vary from person to person. I probably have less energy than others do since I have a sleep disorder as well. But for across the board, periods, low energy. And as I said, the number one priority during your period should be resting. I've been implementing and prioritizing rest during my period for almost a year now. And it is such a drastic difference in the rest of my month, no pun intended, when I focus on rest during my period. So on the months that I'm resting a lot, I'm taking naps, I'm taking it easy, taking it slow. During my period, I have so much more energy leading into the other phases, and especially when I'm ovulating, that energy stays high for a while versus months where maybe I don't have time to rest, I'm not able to prioritize rest, or I'm just pushing through, going to the gym instead of taking a nap. I can feel it the rest of the month. The rest of the month feels like I am in the luteal phase, which again, I can go through all the phases in another video if people are interested in that, but the rest of the month just feels like I am dragging along. So it really does make a difference in your hormones and your energy levels for the rest of the month when you slow down and rest during your period. Our bodies tend to tell us exactly what they need. We just have to relearn how to listen. We live in a society where paid menstrual leave is not the norm yet. So maybe you aren't able to take time off of work or stay at home during your period. But there are other ways that you can prioritize rest. And again, rest looks different for everyone. My version of rest may be different than your version of rest and vice versa. So here are some things that you can do while on your period to prioritize rest and to give your body what it really needs. You could take a nap instead of going to the gym. If you're a gym girly, you're someone who needs to go to the gym often, maybe instead of doing weights or cardio, you take a yin yoga class, a flow class. You go for a walk with a friend instead of hitting the gym. Go to bed early. There's another one. Taking time off social media. I've been doing this one for the last, I would say 3 months, so it's still relatively new for me. I try not to log into Instagram while I'm on my period. I might a couple times, but if I am, I'm doing it on my computer just to kind of get the outward noise away from me, which I'll bring this back up in a second, and just really focus inwards during that time. Schedule less activities. Maybe don't have a million things planned for your period. I try to schedule nothing during my period unless I absolutely have to. Some things come up, friends have birthday parties, but if you can control that, try to keep your schedule as open as possible. If you have the means, I would suggest taking some time off of work while on your period, even if it's just one day. I tend to have my heaviest bleed days on the second, third, fourth day, somewhere in that range. And if I can control it, I try not, which mine actually syncs up so that it's on the days that I'm not working. Those are usually weekend days. I try not to work those days because, one, it's inconvenient for me, just being at work when that's all happening, and two, energetically, I need the most rest on those days. If you're a full-time parent, a stay-at-home parent, maybe you could hire a babysitter for those few hours during the day. If you have a spouse, a partner who would be able to take the kids for a couple of hours, friends, family, whatever, just so you could prioritize resting, taking a nap, taking things as slow as possible. Another thing is just taking a bath. Again, rest looks different for everyone. So my version of rest is different than your version of rest, but whatever you can do to rest, please do it. Schedule it into your calendar if you need to, but prioritize rest. It's okay to take a nap. Rest is so necessary. We're in this world where we're taught to just go, go, go. Burnout is so common because we're all burning at both ends of the stick, like 24/7. But rest is radical self-care, and it's so often overlooked. So it's important to keep yourself warm during your period. Of course, this is going to look different when it's summer versus in the colder months. But a heating pad is always great. You can use one of those plug-in ones. I made this one. You can buy one. I wanted one that I didn't have to plug into a wall. I could just take with me. I've driven with this on. I just made it. I had flannel cloth, and then I used my 7th grade facts class sewing knowledge to sew it together. This is all just stuff I had around the house, and then I put rice in it. I pop it in the microwave for about a minute, and then I just set it on my womb, especially if I'm cramping my heaviest days of bleeding or the few days leading up to my period. Just pop it on there. I've driven with it on. I usually keep it on for about 20 to 30 minutes. It's warm. It's not too hot, but I do put it over my clothes. You can do this while you're watching TV, watching a movie, if you're scrolling on your phone, anything that is just relaxing and unwinding to you. I choose to usually read. I might watch a YouTube video. I try to stay off of my phone as much as possible while on my period. Just a me thing, just where I'm at. Also, socks. Socks are important. There's an idea that you want to keep the heat in the body to nourish your womb, and that heat is really good for your womb. So keeping socks on your feet, again, during the colder months. I'm never wearing socks in the summer, so my period care looks a little bit different when it is hot outside. I'm always sipping on raspberry leaf tea when I'm on my period and the 2-ish days leading up to it. This is simply to nourish my body. Raspberry leaf is probably the #1 herb when it comes to your period. It's really great for your womb, for your uterus, for toning, and for just overall support during that time. Your period is a really great time to tune inwards. This is a big reason why I've been trying to get off of social media when I'm on my period, so I can stop kind of listening to the outside world for a little bit and really reflect and tune inwards and learn how to listen to my own intuition and my own voice. Here's some practices that you can do to start working on reflecting inwards. For me, I love to journal. I take time off of social media. I'll journal and reflect about the past month that just happened, things that I went through, how I felt, how I'm feeling right now. As I mentioned, we're at a low point energetically. Those hormones also are what cause us to have symptoms of PMS, or people who have PMDD, I think is what it's called, that mimic symptoms of depression, or you have a bit of a depressive episode leading up to and during your period. So I'll journal about that. I will not plan, and I don't suggest planning for the upcoming month yet. You could probably do that the last couple of days of your period, when your hormones are starting to rise again. Kind of plan for what's coming. But for right now, during your period, just rest again and reflect on the past month and how you're currently feeling. Set aside time to be still, be alone with your thoughts, write out whatever comes to mind, or maybe if you don't like writing, sometimes I used to do voice memos of things that were on my mind. I don't know if I'll ever go back and listen to them, but they're there. This one's a little bit more of a spiritual woo-woo type of idea, but really pay attention to your dreams. I've personally found that my dreams are so much more vivid when I'm on my period. I have pretty vivid dreams to begin with, but I'm getting some kind of crazy insight to my life and the things that are coming and things that I want to do when I'm on my period. Many people believe that once you start paying attention to your dreams, if you journal them every single day, I don't do that, I just kind of pay attention to themes, you'll start realizing an overarching theme of what's going on in your life. Or some people have premonition dreams that kind of tell the future a little bit. Maybe you believe this, maybe you don't. Maybe you're like, that's kind of sounds a little bit crazy. That's not what I came to this video for, but I think it's fun regardless to pay attention to your dreams. It could mean something, it could mean nothing. You could just see Santa Claus in your dream and be like, that was kind of fun. Overall, take it easy. Be kind and be gentle with yourself. Let your body tell you what it needs. Again, less is more when you're on your period, and your body knows what it needs. We just have to tune in and relearn how to listen. Rest is necessary. Periods are often referred to as the winter inner season for people with a menstrual cycle. Just as the earth rests every winter, and how that's necessary for us to have an abundant spring, summer, and fall, rest is so necessary in order for you to have an abundant rest of your month after your period. So I hope you learned something today. I hope that these are practices, rituals that you'll begin to implement into your life. I would love to hear what your experience has been once you've implemented these, or what is your connection with your period like right now? Is it something that you pay attention to? Is it something that you just try to push through and ignore? Do you have a hard time with painful periods? Whatever it may be, I just send you love and blessings for the month ahead, and I will see you next time.